Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargav. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The budget and the present parliamentary debate on the budget have been focused on the primary allegation of the opposition that the government and the budget support only a select group of Indian entrepreneurs and businessmen. The opposition has been trading allegations of crony capitalism and crony favoritism. Rahul Gandhi, the de facto Congress president, labels the government functioning in a sarcastic manner to call it that of Hum Do, Hamare Do. This is that old family planning slogan, and it is left to your imagination to decide who are the Hamdos and who are those Hamare Dos, who are the beneficiaries of the system. P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister and senior congressman, says that this is a budget of the rich, for the rich, and by the rich, and that it has done nothing for the poor. These may be extremely political statements which are being done in the parliament, but the fact is that they are not totally baseless. After all, we have been seeing that the system has been favoring some cronies of the government in power, of the party in power. The finance minister's response to it has been that this is a false narrative which is being created by the opposition. She says that it has become a sort of a habit for the opposition to allege that the government only works and favors a select few and favors some cronies, as the opposition has been alleging. And she says that such allegation comes despite the fact that the government has been doing a lot for the needy and the poor, not denying the fact that even more needs to be done for them. But she says that these allegations come as a form of a false narrative because the government has been doing immensely for the needy and the poor. And this contention that it has been working for the cronies is quite wrong. In response to these allegations of the opposition that the government has been indulging in crony capitalism and crony favoritism, the finance minister, in her trademark aggressive defense of the government policies and functioning, gave certain statistics and data in order to say that the government has been doing a lot for the poor, seeking to nullify this allegation of the opposition that it has been favoring a select few, it has been favoring cronies. She says that the government has built 1.67 lakh crore houses for the poor under the PM Awas Yojana. She then says that 2.67 lakh crore houses have been electrified. Then she says that 2.11 lakh kilometers of rural roads have been built, which finally benefit the poor. And then 800 million persons, according to her, have been given free food grains, apart from 80 million persons being given free cooking gas connections. She then points out that under the emergency credit line guarantee scheme of the government, 91 lakh MSMEs have been given loans to the tune of 1.78 lakh crores and to the tune of 8.22 lakh crores of rupees. Orders have been given to various entities, mainly to the MSMEs, under the government's e-marketplace platform. She thus contends that a lot has been done for the poor, for the needy by the government, and that it is not only been functioning for the cronies. None of us can deny the fact that the poor must be supported. We also need to ensure that the poor are supported in such a manner that they become self-reliant at some point of time, that they are pulled out of poverty and they no longer need government doles and support. None of us can deny that. But then, let's be clear. This allegations of the opposition and this debate is not about the rich and the poor. This debate, these allegations are about disparities in the government's treatment, the government's approach towards certain entrepreneurs versus the others. It's a debate about disparity and inequality in treatment of businessmen and treatment of entrepreneurs by the government, where a chosen few, the cronies of the system, immensely benefit from the system. They are the system favorites, and all the others are left out in some way or the other. It is a select few who benefit out of the government policies, and the rest of them are left out of it. This is actually the focus of the debate, and it is not one of rich and poor, as the finance minister is trying to contend. Let the narrative of this debate be not lost in the political populism of rich versus the poor, and let it be focused on disparities and inequalities in the government's treatment of certain entrepreneurs versus the rest, where some benefit, the others don't, and those who benefit are just those favorite select few of the government. It is because of these disparities that we have been seeing widening of inequalities of opportunities, wealth, and income in the country. And this is what the debate is all about. Where is it that these disparities have come in and inequalities have been widening? The first one has been to do with access to funds. Any businessman who wants to grow, any entrepreneur who has got plans of expansion needs funds, and he needs access to funds from the system, whether from banks or whether from financial institutions or whether by way of government grants, etc. What we are seeing is that the big ones, the favorites, they have got ready access to funds from the system such that whenever there is a large project or contract being announced by the government, they are the ones who seem to have money all the time, and the others just don't have. It is this access to funds which makes the big ones grow bigger because they bag all the opportunities, they bag all the contracts, they bag all the projects, and all those who are not cronies and favorites of the system, they are left out. So the first one has been in terms of access to money from the system. The second is the tax laws. The tax laws have been framed in such a manner by and by that they are squeezing out the working capital out of the entrepreneurs' balance sheets. Entrepreneurs are required to put in more and more funds into their working in order to maintain the same level of business that they were conducting. And that has been happening because of changes in GST laws, because of changes in income tax laws. In fact, in the recent budget, there have been certain changes because of which working capital requirement will go up. The big ones have no problem. They have all the funds. The small ones don't have the funds. And it is their businesses which will suffer. It is they who will grow smaller. And the big ones will only go bigger. So the second is squeezing of the working capital funds out of the balance sheets of those who are not favorites of the system or those who are not the big ones. The third one has to do with the overbearing, complex, complicated laws that we have. Those big entities which deal in public funds certainly need extremely heavy laws to regulate their working. After all, they are using public funds which cannot be abused and misused. But those complex laws, those overbearing laws, those complicated laws which are meant for the big ones cannot be put and applied to the small ones. And that is what we are seeing. The big ones, because they've got access to public money, must be prosecuted. They must be stringently regulated. But the small ones who do not have access to public money, who are dealing with their own private funds, cannot be regulated with the same heavy-handed laws with the big ones face. And that is where yet another discrimination comes in. This situation results in the big ones having all the voice. It is the billionaires who have access to the system, and it is to the billionaires that accountability is available from the system. For the small ones, their voices are muted, their voices are muffled, they don't even have access to the system. And it is to the small entrepreneur that the government functioning is in such a manner that he has no access, he has no accountability from the system to him. It results in inequality of opportunities, inequality of profitability, inequalities of turnovers and cash flows. Further, the system, the government's functioning is not replenishing the livelihood and jobs, particularly of the MSME sector. The MSME sector has suffered immensely because of government policy starting from demonetization, and no succor, no relief has come to it. And that has not happened in the case of the big ones. The government policies have not given any kind of relief to these suffering enterprises. On the other hand, the big ones who never suffered continue to have a good time, they continue to flourish. It is further noted that infrastructure deficit in the country hurts the small ones the most. The big ones have got the resources, they've got the networking, they've got the connect to ensure that when they set up their businesses, they are able to get some kind of an infrastructure in place that they need. But that's not the case with the small ones. The small ones have no resources, they have no reach, and the government policy does not favor them in such a way that the infrastructure deficit that they face is taken care of. That again results in opportunities and growth being denied to the small ones. We then see court delays. Indian courts are full of uncertainties. They are full of extremely expensive litigation. The small ones are not able to bear with it. The big ones, they have a merry time. The government has again done nothing to give some kind of a relief to the small ones such that they are not dragged in courts for an uncertain period such that their business suffers or their business closes down. That's yet another disparity and inequality in the government's approach as far as it comes to entrepreneurs in the country. And finally, the small ones today are not able to withstand the pressure of red tapeism, corruption, and the bureaucracy, which have not been mitigated at all, despite the government's promise of maximum governance and minimum government. The reverse has happened. So, when you look at the government's policies, when you look at the government's approach, and when you look at how does it impact entrepreneurs on the ground, some of them, they benefit immensely from the system because of their reach, because of their resources, because of their influence, and because of their ability to connect with the system. The smaller ones suffer, and because of that, the disparities of opportunities, the inequalities of income and wealth have certainly gone up in a big way in entrepreneurial class in the system. According to us, the real narrative is this. The real narrative is not of the rich and the poor. The real narrative is of the government's treatment of entrepreneurs, wherein certainly there are some cronies who immensely benefit from the system, and there are some who just don't. And that's where the problem lies. The finance minister should give this data to us. She should give that data where we come to know how much money goes to the big ones, to the cronies from the system as compared to the small ones. How the big ones benefit from the government policies and the small ones just do not. And how the livelihood and business of the big ones, of the favorites of the system flourishes while that of the small ones struggles. According to us, that is where the real narrative lies, and the finance minister has just skipped it over. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Hello everyone. HW News English is 2 years old now. When we started this venture, we promised ourselves one thing, that news should remain free, because right to know is the right of every Indian. But to keep news free for everyone, we need support from some of you. And thus we have rolled out membership on our YouTube channel HW News English. But mind you, the membership is completely voluntary. The programs that we were doing earlier, that we are doing now, will continue to remain free. First level is a basic level. Here, you can be our supporter by paying Rs 199 per month. This membership gives you certain perks and benefits. The perks include unique badges in front of your name, a live show from Mr. Sujit Nair and from Mr. Akhilesh Bhargava per month for our members. You can also vote in some exclusive members-only polls. Now the second level is Super Supporter. Here you can be our Super Supporter by paying Rs 3,999 per month. This membership will include every perk that comes with basic level. Additionally, our Super Supporters can be a part of a WhatsApp group where we can have discussions and suggestions on various topics. The second perk includes a gift pack with our merchandise. And the third perk is a Google Meet with Mr. Sujit Nair, where you can join the meet and ask your questions to Mr. Nair face to face. Lastly, if you like, we would give a shout out to our super supporters in our programs. So, hope to see you soon with our badges.